What's needed now goes beyond just the reforms that I mentioned. But what took place 1 year ago was not merely a failure of regulation or legislation. It wasn't just a failure of oversight or foresight. It was also a failure of responsibility. It was fundamental failure of responsibility that allowed Washington to become a place where problems, including structural problems in our financial system, were ignored rather than solved. It was a failure of responsibility that led home buyers and derivative traders alike to take reckless risks that they couldn't afford to take. It was a collective failure of responsibility in Washington, on Wall Street, and across America that led to the near collapse of our financial system 1 year ago. The restoring a willingness to take responsibility, even when it's hard to do, is at the heart of what we must do. Here on Wall Street, you have a responsibility. The reforms I've laid out will pass, and these changes will become law. But one of the most important ways to rebuild the system stronger than it was before is to rebuild trust stronger than before. And you don't have to wait for a new law to do that. You don't have to wait to use plain language in your dealings with consumers. You don't have to wait for legislation to put the 2009 bonuses under senior executives up for a shareholder vote. You don't have to wait for a law to overhaul your pay system so that folks are rewarded for long-term performance instead of short-term gains. The fact is that many of the firms that are now returning to prosperity owe a debt to the American people.
Very leveraged as a country. We have about $56 trillion of unfunded liabilities and promises we made, Social Security, Medicare, and so forth. And we're a country that focuses almost entirely on A, the short term, and B, I don't want to give up anything, I don't want to pay for anything, but I'm entitled. And entitled is one of my least favorite words in English language.
What can Washington do to reform that entitlement mentality?
Well, I've set up the foundation that deals with these subjects, and I think what we need is a very broad-based, bipartisan commission where everything is on the table, not just what we want on the table, but everything, by which I mean entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, by which I also mean tax policy, because we're going to have to increase taxes. And then what kind of budget policies are needed to build in discipline into our system. And I think everything has to be on the table.